Here we go. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little blab about law of attraction and mindset and stuff, and then I will keep I'll kind of like blast through here, and then you guys can take note if you have any questions, and then we'll open up a little chat at the end. So, talking about the law of attraction and kind of what is that? The law of attraction is this idea that we attract to our life whatever it is that we give our attention, energy, and focus to. And sometimes this can kick us in the foot because we'll be really aware of what it is, the things that we don't want. But when we focus on what we don't want, that is still us giving our attention, energy, and focus to it. And so we end up coming full circle and we're getting more of what we don't want because that's where our energy is. And I like to give a couple different views of this idea, one that feels a bit more science-based and one that feels a bit more mindset manifestation based, and then you can take whatever feels like it lines up with you the most and use it to your advantage however you'd like. So the first kind of concept is a little more science-based and talking about our brain and our mind and how what we focus on is what we end up attracting. So there's this thing they call it the RAS, the reticular activating system. It's this little bundle of nerves kind of at the base of your brain stem, and in your brain it serves the purpose as being like your filter for like what you see and what your life is turning, like what you're noticing around you, because we would literally pass out with fatigue if we had to consciously recognize and be aware of everything that's going on, all the information that's bombarding all of our five systems. If we had to be consciously aware of all that, you just couldn't handle it all. So we have this RAS, this reticular activating system, that kind of acts as a filter where it shows to us what we believe is important to us. So it filters things out, and our subconscious is always working towards us, trying to bring to our awareness the things that it thinks is important to us. I don't know if you've ever had that moment where you're in a room and there's a lot of people talking and it all sounds like white noise and you're not really like noticing anything, and then boom, you kind of like hear your name because your subconscious, that's something that it knows is like important to you, and so you can totally notice it. That's something that it's picked up from the environment and it brings to your awareness, and so you're able to hear your name in a crowd of people. That's just like one simple sign of your brain working for you. Or if you've ever noticed, say you're going to buy a new car and you're like, I want a white Volkswagen Jetta, and you're just like, you're dreaming about, I can't wait till I get this car, that's my dream car that I've always wanted, and you just start seeing them everywhere. Or you're starting to get baby fever and all that's on your mind is babies, and you're like, feels like every time you turn a corner you're like, oh my god, there's another cute baby. Like, that's because all those things were always there, but now that your subconscious has noticed that you have a focus on it, it's like, oh, this thing is important to them, I'm going to start showing them evidence of like where this is in their environment, so we can use that to our advantage. So whatever it is that we believe, and we create our core beliefs through our words and our thoughts and our feelings about things, whatever we decide is our like core values, our this part of our brain is going to start looking and showing you evidence of it. So you get more of what you are. I like this little short click reminder of this idea is energy flows where focus goes. So you need to be focusing on what it is that you want, and not just what you want, but what you are and who you believe you are. And then you'll attract the things that line up with that. That's where this idea comes into place. Is like, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So instead of, say we're talking about health and changes with our health and body, we don't want to be talking about that feeling as something in the future, because then we're emanating this vibration of like, I'm not that person yet. So we're going to be finding more evidence that proves, oh, you're not that person, you're this person, because you're not believing that you're that person. So we have to pay attention to, okay, how can we have these goals of who we want to be, the things that we want, but talk about it, think about it, believe it from this space of like, we already are that person, so we're in the process of being that person, so that our subconscious can go to work for us, finding evidence of all the things that prove to us that yes, we are that person. And so it'll line up opportunities and moments that support that. So that is the little piece of your brain, how we can get our subconscious to work for us. We have to focus very specifically on what we want and who we want to be.
Franny,
Yeah, hit me.
I don't think your thing is changing. I just see like a home page with like ad heading, the very first slide, and it looks like you're clicking, but
Okay, but nothing
just
switched.
I don't know if that's only me, but it stayed on that one slide with all your options on the left-hand side, like it wasn't a big presentation.
Oh, well, there we go. Thank you. Let's try this again. Let's click to here. So, can you see it kind
Yes.
of bounce around now?
Yeah, that's better.
Love it. Okay, thank you. Boom. Perfect. Okay, so we were just talking about this here spot there, the reticular activating system, little bundle of nerves. And then we're bouncing around to how can we use the power of words to change our thoughts, change our beliefs so that that part of our brain can start working for us. Now, words are huge because words hold a lot of power. They are the way we formulate our thoughts, and our thoughts repeated over time turn into our beliefs, and then our beliefs about certain things create feelings. So we want to go back to the root of where our feelings come from, which is words. So we'll kind of bounce into that a little bit more, but this is just an extra reminder that the words you use are really important. Telling yourself things like, oh, well, this is just who I am, or it's always been like this, or, well, that's just the way my family is, so I'm going to be like that too. Your subconscious doesn't like note humor and it doesn't note sarcasm. So you're saying these things, it takes that on as a belief. And so your subconscious is going to go to work for you, proving that all of that is true. And that's when you feel like you keep self-sabotaging, you get close to like making change, but you still have these beliefs that, oh, this is just who I am. Like I used to always label myself like, oh, I'm a binge eater. And so as soon as I would start to create different habits, I had this belief that, oh, well, I'm a binge eater, that's who I am. And I'd always end up self-sabotaging myself. So we have to be really conscious about what is it that we're saying about ourselves. And this is like a great practice for journaling to be like, what are the thoughts that are coming up? Because our thoughts that are repeated, they become our beliefs, regardless of whether we want them to be our beliefs or not. If that's something that's repeated, our brain is going to take that on as true. It's going to be our belief. We're going to feel a certain way about ourselves, and then we're going to create the life that matches that. So we'll play around with words a little bit more after that. But I wanted to bring up vibrations. So we kind of talked about the science-based side of things with different parts of our brain acting as filtering systems, bringing us information that matches what our current beliefs are. And then there's also this idea of vibrations, where everything in the whole world is made up of energy. It's like this table that's in front of me is all just at its smallest level molecules, just like I'm molecules, and everything's vibrations. Feelings are vibrations, words are vibrations. And there's two types of vibrations, positive and negative. So we attract what we are. So if we're giving off a positive vibration, we attract whatever is also that vibration. If you've probably seen this idea put into action. Any days where you like, say you wake up and you stub your toe, and then you're like, oh my God, today sucks already. So it's like you're in a negative vibration. And then the coffee maker, you burn your coffee or whatever, and then you're stuck in traffic. And then it just seems like it's like this negative spiral of negativity. It's because you're emitting these vibrations. So you're attracting and noticing all the negative things, versus it can also go in that same way in the positive direction. When something positive happens, you start emitting positive feelings, positive vibrations, then you start noticing other positive things, and then it's a spiral, an upward spiral of positive feelings. So we're going to practice using our words and our thoughts to create more vibrations, more feelings that line up with this positive vibration, positive emotion. And our state of our vibrations and the energy that we're putting out, it doesn't just happen with the actions that we're doing. We're energy all the time. We don't ever shut our energy off. So we're creating either positive or negative waves, little frequencies, regardless of whether it's something we're doing or if we're remembering, observing, reminiscing about something, visualizing, observing certain scenarios. We're always emitting different vibrations. So even if nothing bad has happened to us currently in the moment, but we're complaining or remembering about something that was like negative that happened before, in this current moment, we're then emitting negative vibrations. So we'll attract more negativity. And this idea behind positive vibes, because I also don't love the not positive vibe club, but like, oh, everything's just hunky dory all the time and it's great and rainbows and butterflies, yay. Like that also doesn't feel very real. Um, but we can use our words and our beliefs to still emit positive vibrations, even when we're going through hard things. We can recognize that things are tough and challenging. But if our perspective about it is things like growth and pride and gratitude, like say we're going through a hard time, or let's talk about, say you feel like you went off plan with like how you wanted to eat or you wanted to do your workout or whatever, or something happened and it made you miss the gym. Instead of turning that tough time into negative emotions like disappointment and stress, if we can change the perspective and the way we look at things and the way we talk about things and go, okay, you know what? I don't love the way I feel after missing that workout. And so then that makes you grateful for your ability to move your body. And you can then focus on the feeling of gratitude. Or say you go through something tough with your family, you can still emit this positive energy if you're thinking about it from the perspective of, wow, this is a really good opportunity for me to like grow and learn and rise to the occasion and challenge myself. And so, regardless of whether it's positive or negative events that are happening in your life, you can continue to emit a positive vibration when you associate those tough times with, all right, like this is me building resilience, like this is me building confidence. I'm taking pride that I'm showing up even though it's tough. So, that's the way that you can create positive frequencies, even though life doesn't have to be rainbows and butterflies all the time, but you can still influence what are the vibrations that you're putting out there so that you can influence what are the things you're attracting and what are the things that you're what are the things that you're noticing, because your filter in your RAS is showing you the things that match the vibration. So let's just keep going. Now, another funny thing whenever it comes to the power of words and how we're feeling is that our subconscious, it can't, just like it can't really tell when we're being sarcastic or like, you know, self-deprecating humor, like, well, I'm just a chubby bunny, and we're like, no, but it's a joke. It's like, no, your subconscious brain is not getting that you're like putting yourself down for fun. So it's going to take that on as a belief that like you're not comfortable with who you are. So another thing that it also doesn't notice is when we say the words like don't, not, or no, we're like, oh, I don't want that, or use the words not, it still counts as us putting energy and focus on the thing. So then we end up getting more of the thing. So let's take something outside of the health field, something like, oh, I don't want to be late. When we say I don't want to be late, we're focusing still the energy on the fact of being late. Our energy and focus is still going there. So we'll probably have multiple obstacles getting in our way because our energy and focus is still on the act of being late. So the way to kind of zoom and pivot away from this is to ask yourself, so what do I want? And then your language is going to change, then your vibration is going to change. So a simple one of that is like, so instead of saying, I don't want to be late, okay, so what do I want? I want to be on time. And just that little shift, it's like the same idea, but now your subconscious and your brain is going to be working on you to find solutions. Oh, you want to be on time? Okay, well, here's what you need to do. Here's how we're going to get there on time. Versus if you say, oh, I don't want to be late, then you're in this like negative vibration and you're focusing on being late. And so your brain's going to, oh, well, traffic's probably going to be bad, or so and so is not going to be ready on time. And then we're just going to be focusing on what that is. So anytime you catch yourself saying like, or something like, oh, I don't want to binge ever again. Because I used to say, I want to stop overeating. I don't want to binge. But my focus was on the act of binging. And so lo and behold, that cycle would keep coming up. I feel like I'd be doing good, but then boom, I'd binge again. Because my brain's always like, oh, binging, focusing on binging. Here's a great time to binge. Like, here are some thoughts that'll stress you out. Maybe comfort would be binging. So it's like, so I had to ask myself, instead of saying, I don't want to binge, I had to ask the question, so what do I want? I want to feel calm and confident around food. I want to eat portions that feel good in my body. And so my brain goes, oh, okay, this is what you're putting your energy and focus on. I'll show you information or things that will help you do that. Then you start noticing, oh, maybe there's a really good like post on Instagram that like clicked really well for me that I would have scrolled by, but now that I'm focusing on, I want to feel calm and confident around food. I want to learn how to eat in portions that feel good for my body. Now I'm going to start finding those solutions that line up with that, because now that's what I'm focusing on. So this is a really big question that I hope you guys take away from this. Like anytime you catch yourself in a negative vibe, like, oh, I don't want this, I don't want to diet ever again, I don't want to go to the gym, ask yourself, so what do I want? And sometimes that question can be a hard one to answer. Like, okay, wait, so what do I want? It's way easier to know what I don't want. It's a really hard question to answer, like, what do I want? So one of the ways that we can kind of practice figuring that out, how do we answer that question? So what do I want? We can use contrast. We can be aware of what are the things that I don't like, but we don't want to get stuck in that, focusing on the things we don't like. It's like if there was something that you smelled that you didn't like, would you just keep smelling it and go, oh my God, I don't like the smell of this. Oh, and then just keep sniffing it and not change? Like you go, oh no, that smells bad. And then you go away and you put your focus on something different. We don't just keep focusing on, God, this smells bad. We notice it. We go, oh, I don't like this. So then we pivot and we go somewhere different, do something different. But we can acknowledge like, oh, okay, noted. I don't like the smell of lavender. We don't just keep sniffing lavender all day and whatnot. So use contrast. If you notice on the weekend, like, oh, I don't like snacking late at night and watching TV because it makes me feel yucky. Okay, so what do you want though? Because if you focus on, oh, I don't want to like snack late at night because it messes up my sleep. You keep focusing on that, you're going to keep having this craving to snack at night. So ask yourself, so what do I want? Oh, I want to get a better bedtime routine so that I feel light when I go to bed. So then your brain's going to focus on that. Okay, what can I add into my bedtime routine? Maybe I'll do a yoga class, or, oh, now you're paying attention to finding a bedtime routine that you like. You may now notice or hear people talking about a meditation class that they really liked, and then you'll go and try that. So keep asking yourself that question. So what do I want? So I'm just going to show you a couple other areas that this kind of shows up and how we shift. Like if we catch ourselves using terms or words that make us feel like we're in a negative space, how can we kind of pivot and shift out of that? This, before I get into that, I just want to point this out where, okay, how do we know if we're emitting positive or negative vibrations? Pause and look around and go, look at the results that you're getting in your life. If everything's going the way that you want it to go, then you know that the words and thoughts and feelings that you're currently putting out there are positive and they're working for you. If you notice that you're like not quite where you want to be, then we have to zoom back and be like, okay, well, what are the thoughts and feelings and words that I'm using right now? Those aren't working for me, so I'm going to have to shift. So that's a really good way to know, what am I putting out there? Well, what you're putting out there is exactly what you're getting. So if you're not content with everything that you're getting right now, then we can pedal it back and see where we can change our thoughts and words. So here are some shifts that may come up. We had kind of mentioned that one before, this negative vibration of using words don't, not, and no, something like I don't want to overeat. Then we're thinking about overeating. And so then we end up in the spiral of always overeating over and over again. So we have to switch. So what do I want? Instead of focusing on what you don't want, you end up with more of that. What do you want? I want to eat portions that feel good in my body. You keep focusing on the what you do want, and you'll keep finding tools and solutions of how to get there. Here are some kind of other ways that might come up. This idea of, say we focus on, oh, I want to lose weight. And you're like, well, that's focusing on what I do want. But there is a feeling. It's not just our words that matter, it's our feelings about it. So if we say, I want to lose weight, the feeling that comes with that is, oh, that must mean that I'm not where I want to be because I'm wanting to lose weight. That means that I'm feeling like I have excess weight that I need to lose. So then there's negative vibrations that are coming with that. So then we're not getting positive outcomes. We're feeling like we're not where we want to be. I want to lose weight means that you're not where you want to be right now. And so you're going to keep finding evidence in the world and in your life that proves, yep, you're right. You're not where you want to be. So we want to focus on what's a thought and feeling that can explain where we're at right now, but that is creating positive feelings in my body. Like you probably don't feel super positive when you say I want to lose weight, because that means you're not feeling happy with where you are. But then there's this balance of, okay, well, if I can't say that, does that mean I'm stuck with where I am forever? Or like, can I still emit positive vibrations with my current state, but also want to change? So how do we ride that wave? So changing our words and thoughts is how we do this. So instead of focusing on this lack and of not being happy with where we are and I want to lose weight or whatnot, we shift to abundance. That like I'm in the process of building my healthiest self. So then we emit positive, like when you say that, that is true to the fact that yes, you're changing and growing and pushing for new stuff. But the fact that you're already in the process of it, that emits like a positive vibration. You're doing it. You are the you that you want to be. You're in the process of creating your healthiest body. So that is the same idea, but it changes the feeling. I hope that resonates a little bit and we can kind of chat through it a little more, but it's not just the words that are important, it's the feelings that you attach to those words. It's like, I bet if you say, I'm in the process of building my healthiest self, it's like there's feelings of pride and like confidence and growth that come with that. And those are positive emotions. So you'll be emitting positive vibrations and your RAS is going to be looking for solutions to prove and show you evidence of, yeah, you're in the process of building your healthiest self. You'll probably be open to, okay, I'm in the process of building my healthiest self. So you'll start noticing, oh, what's that sport? Or, oh, that's a new gym. Or overhearing somebody talking about this like new recipe that they tried. And then you'll get excited about trying that. And then it just snowballs in the positive direction. Another way that this can come up when we're talking about in the field of health and wellness and people talking about manifestation is when it comes to body image. If we're feeling like we're having a day where we don't feel confident in our skin, we're like, oh, I just hate the way I look, like, I hate my body. And then there's people out here talking about like, come on, positive vibes only. So they're like, just look in the mirror and say, I love myself. Well, it's our feelings that matter too. So regardless, if we say, I love myself, but we're not feeling like that's true in the moment, then we're not emitting those positive vibrations because we're not feeling like we love ourselves. So then what do? How can we shift our words to change into a positive vibration while also honoring what is true for us in this moment? So instead of feeling like you have to go this big jump from hate my body to I love my body, when you don't feel like that's true for you, we come to this middle ground of facts and neutral emotion and go, I have a body. What am I going to do with it today? Or I have a body. It does a lot for me. My heart is pumping, my lungs are like, all those things are true for you, and they're positive, and they're focusing on gratitude for what your body's doing for you right now. So you can not have to lie to yourself and say, oh, I love my body if you're not feeling it that day, but you can shift your vibrations away from the negativity of I hate my body to these positive vibrations of I have a body. What am I going to do with it today? Like, I've got legs that let me move. And you shift your focus to those things that are true right now. So you're not like faking it or anything. They are true for you now, but that little shift is now creating positive vibrations, and then you'll start noticing more positivity throughout the day. So the other thing that can get in our way is doubt, limiting beliefs, doubt, things where we're like, okay, I'm in the process of building my healthiest self, and then doubt starts to creep in. We're like, oh, well, my whole family's overweight, so I'm just gonna be overweight, or things like that. Doubt just kind of creeps in. Anytime you catch yourself feeling doubtful, because doubt has a negative vibration, so we can be saying all these positive things, but if we have this undercurrent of doubting that we're actually capable of it, now we're emitting a negative vibration, and we can only be sending out one at a time. So if we have doubt about what we're capable of, then that gets rid of the positive vibration. So how can we ditch the doubt that's creating those negative vibrations? So we have to poke holes in the doubt so that it doesn't ring true. And a couple ways that we can do that is asking, is this 100% true? Because sometimes our emotional brain will just make these like overgeneralizations, like sweeping statements, like, say, we'll use that one because that's something that's come up before. It's like, oh, well, my whole family's overweight and has always had trouble with food. So that's just who I am. So we need to remove that doubt. So how do we do it? How do we shift our beliefs and our feelings about our life and the state we're in? So if we ask, is this 100% true? 100% true. That will kind of pause and put you in your tracks, like, well, okay, if we need to also figure out, like, is this 100% true? The way we have to prove this or disprove that it's true, ask yourself, is there anyone on the planet right now that has a different state of their body than the rest of their family? Anybody on the planet in this whole world at this moment? And I bet you couldn't say with 100% certainty that there's no one else on the planet that has a family that is overweight and struggles with food, but that they have found a way out of that, and they've created rewrote their own new story. So that is one way where we can start to remove the truth of the doubt. Just ask, is there anyone else on the planet that is blah, 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 who's recovered from binge eating, or who couldn't do it? Like, sometimes we'll say, like, I'll never be able to do 10 push-ups. And so you go, okay, is there anybody on the entire planet right now who has a similar background than me, who went from 0 push-ups to 10 push-ups? Yes, there's a bazillion people on the planet. There has been someone in the world who has gone through something similar. And so that'll help poke the holes in the doubt. Because when you zoom out and just look at, okay, we can't say with 100% certainty that you're never going to be able to do what you want to do, because someone else on the planet has done something similar. So that'll remove the doubt. Now, okay, this is something that, like, feel free to screenshot this actually if you want, or just kind of write these things down, because now we're kind of getting into the actual tools of, like, okay, how do we work through this process? The biggest one is asking yourself, what do I want? What do I want? And say, what I want is to feel confident and healthy in my body. And we want to increase our clarity around, like, well, okay, what does that look like? So we make a column, 2 columns, and you write down a crap ton of things that you don't like, because are going to smell the smell that we don't like, but not for long, smell it enough to know we don't like it. And then we're going to ask the question, so what do I want? And we're going to have a list of clarity of what it is that looks like. So say we're going with that topic of, okay, what do I want? I want to feel healthy and full of energy. Okay, so things I don't like. Things I don't like being on a diet all the time. I don't like doing exercise that I hate. I don't like waking up at 5 a.m. I don't like, write down a list of like 50 things that you don't like. Because it's our brains are just kind of built to notice the negative things easier, because when we were creating our systems for survival hundreds of years ago, like what was most important for your survival was to point out the dangers and point out the negative things. Back then our brain wasn't built to be like, oh wow, beautiful flower, let's smell the roses, and then you got eaten by a tiger. Like that wouldn't have helped our species survive for very long. So the brain is built for its strongest filter to be pointing out the negative things, because then we can notice them and we can prepare ourselves to fight or flee. But we live in a different world now, and now we have the safety of food and shelter, and so now we get into these spiritual fulfillment. These are first world problems. These are privilege. Like if we're worrying about this, like, oh, what is that? I don't really know what my passion or my purpose is. Like, first off, congratulations, because that's like a privileged problem. Because people who are worried about where their next meal is coming from, or if they're going to freeze to death, or if they have somewhere safe to be, it's like they're not worrying or wondering about those things. So even just the fact that we get to talk about this stuff means that we're privileged, and like this is a privileged problem to have. And so have some like gratitude as you're going through these things. So you write a list of things I don't like, and then ask the question, so what do I want? And then in the column of things I like, you write down what the opposite of that is. Here, I have this, I can send you guys. Okay, you know what? There's this book, Law of Attraction. So let's look at, pretend we're doing a relationship manifestation thing. So you've probably seen girlfriends that seem to just always get terrible boyfriends. They're probably focusing on all the things that they don't want, and then they get more of that. So in their column of like things I don't like, someone who's controlling, someone who's a poor listener, someone who's not affectionate, then we focus on all the things that we don't want. We end up noticing all those things and attracting more of those things. So then we have to ask ourselves, so what do I want? So then in the other column, say we were talking about romantic relationships, we would say things I like: someone who's flexible, well balanced, someone who has great listening skills, someone who's affectionate and sensitive. We start focusing on the things that we want, and we'll start being able to find them. So we can do that for our health and fitness goals or our life goals. Write a list of things that you don't like, you don't want, and then ask that $1,000,000 question. So what do I want? And then write it out so you know what the language looks like behind that. Things I don't like: overeating and having stomach pains. Okay, so what do I want? I want to feel comfortable and have regular bowel movements. And we will focus on what we want, so then we'll find the information we need that aligns with that. Other tools we have to go through this process of focusing on what do I want is, even when it's just tiny little things, celebrate the proof that you are getting what you want. Little things like noticing like, ooh, I saw an Instagram post that like really hit home for me. Celebrate the proof of, oh, I'm getting what I want. I'm looking for ways to feel confident around food, and I saw this, I noticed this post. Celebrate the proof of that. So when we celebrate the proof of things lining up for us, things are going to start, it's going to be more coincidences, more serendipity. So celebrate the proof. Like one night you choose to brush your teeth and floss and go to bed instead of having a binge session at the night. Like celebrate that. Every little moment, celebrate it. Practice gratitude for everything that you have right now, because that will emit positive vibrations. Focus on affirmations that are true, just like that one we talked about. Like instead of just going, I love my body, I love my body, on the days we don't, focus on affirmations that are true. I have a body and it does a lot. It does a lot for me. And then we talked about this kind of remove doubt idea. So on that topic, I'm going to bounce out of here so that I can just kind of see if there's any questions. I'll stop the recording too so that you don't have to worry about